Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome on into the Dragon's Den. My name is Digital Dragon, otherwise known as Luke, and I'm a 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. You may say, well, what is a 3D printing variety stream? Well, it means we do everything from various prints like some of our signs and helmets up here to actual 3D printer builds, such as pretty much every single one back here is a full up kit build or scratch build, to prototyping. The 0G Mercury 1 right here is a full up prototype machine. It was done under a closed beta, as well as I take part in some other closed betas like a trad rack and some other items. So that's what I mean by 3D printing variety stream. We also started just recently getting into some other projects, such as we did a Ivan Miranda mini tank. This is supposed to be an RC tank. And we started working on our Droid build. So we still need to work on sanding and painting the outer skins on this. So I will wind up taking some of this apart again and again and again as we go through the process here. But, that's part of what it is. I don't want to go through and start spray painting things if I may have to reprint or do some other changes. And once I get it done, I'll tear it back down. I will paint the things that need to be painted, add on any other accoutrements, that, and we'll get this thing. So I hope everybody's doing well. John's Crypt, thank you for the follow. Here for hanging around here in the chat room or just followed, but thank you. Appreciate that. And why am I not seeing any? Okay, there. Whatever reason, my screen was just hanging. Hey, Mr. Wiz, how's it going? Wizzix. Good afternoon, good evening. I did make a post on Twitch last night. No, this is not assembled and put together. It's just I'm literally holding it together with my hands right now because we need to do a few things before I can plant these together. I'm going to go ahead and take the wheels back off. Right. We can take a wheel off. We can lift this straight out. And we've got our wheels separated again. Now, I did, we did have some tolerance issues on these where we thought that they were just a tad bit too tight, or excuse me, not too tight, but too loose. We had some side-to-side motion on here that I didn't like. I did order some 10 millimeter bearings. So the 10 millimeter bearings just came in. So I will need to undo the screw, pull all these out, and put a new set of bearings in. And I'm debating whether I want to do that right now or hold off. I do want to mark the motor some, or at least identify how deep to put the gears. So I can take these off, pull these motors back out, because I did order wire. Now, with that being said, I ordered some silicone wire because I was out of red and black silicone wire, which is what I wanted to use. So I ordered 2 things of wire from Amazon, right? Not a single thing on this box says what size it is. But guess what? Neither of the 2 boxes say what size they are. You open it up. Yep. Not a thing on here that says what gauge this is. So I got 18 gauge and I got 20 gauge. One feels a lot lighter than the other, it's obviously a lot less. So I need to go and try and figure out which one I ordered and then write on here what they are so that I can figure out what the gauge is easier because believe it or not, when they put the insulation on them, it normally comes out to be the same size between 18 and 20 gauge for whatever reason. So let me see if I can look at the actual order. '18 gauge was 30 feet. And the 20 gauge is 100 feet. That's going to tell me this would be my 20 gauge and that's going to be my 18 gauge. So that's going to help. It's just annoying that they do that and don't have any type of, sizing listed on the darn thing. So what we say the 100 foot was the 20 gauge. Yes, this should be these. Okay, so we got that set up there. We'll be able to do a little bit of wiring. Once again, I wanted to take these motors off and just wire up a length of wire before we got too far. Well, yeah, that's why I just wrote on there myself 20 gauge and 18 gauge, just so it's easier for me to tell. What do I need to do here? I need to take the set screws off. Um, and I'm going to probably put a good length of cable in here. Having a better diagram that would say, hey, use this much cable or this length of cable would be nice. But I mean, it is what it is. We'll work around it. And you guys may see or may have noticed that one of my printers is a little gloomy right now. So this is the top of Fay Dragon, or the self printer on Fay Dragon. I realized it was printing in the air and shut it down, pulled it out, was trying to clear a clog, and I don't know, something made a noise. I'm not sure what, but I'm getting very sporadic stuff now. As in, um, I looked and the hot and cooling fan wasn't running, but the lights were on. Part cooling fan was running. Then I didn't have any fans running. Then I didn't have any fans running and no lights running after taking it apart and put it together a couple of times. And of course, in the process, I broke one of the wires. And of course, it's the tiny, tiny wire that goes to the thermistor. So I got to rewire that. So it's one of the other things that I get to work on in my copious amounts of free time this week. And of course, I was printing the last plate of parts for the Enraged Rabbit carrot feeder. So apparently, yeah, yeah. It's if it's not one thing, it's another, right? Always something. Though I will say, you guys notice anything different behind me other than printers not printing right? Electric outlets? No, I haven't got the new electric outlets yet. But you'll notice that my color or my lights in the back are going all the way to the wall. So I've finally got the third string of lights up and running. What I did was I got some, uh, once again, it's 18 gauge cable, 2 wire, but it's in a secondary sleeve. So, whoops, wire like wire like this. So 2 wire external sleeve. So you can cut the external sleeve off, and then you have the two independent wires. 18 gauge, of course. I believe it was 18 gauge. And also bought some inline fuse holders, right? Because you kind of supposed to fuse these things. So what I had is, because these are 5 watt lights, there's not enough amperage on the light strips to be able to go all 3 lengths, because I've got the higher count light sets or light strips. And so I wound up having to inject power at the opposite end. So right now, what I have is there are there's top um, supports that go across that hold the shelf, but there's 2 bottom supports that go in at the bottom of the girder, like right here and right here. So I just took a 1 foot by 2 foot strip of plywood, put it up there, mounted the power supply up underneath the 5 watt, 100 watt, or 5 volt, 100 watt power supply. Came out to some Wagos, and I've got power going to both ends on runs. And by centralizing it there, when I finish my light box here from Solar 3DP, I'll be able to mount this, and using the same 5 volt wires, I'll be able to hang it somewhere back here or set it up somewhere back here and run off the same power strip. So, yeah, I finally got froggy and started doing some things. And we had agreed that we needed to do 18 gauge on these wires, 12 volts, going into a 10 amp uh, board. So, yeah, they're 12 volt motors. The 10 amp motor controller board, the lipos are, I think, are 14 volts full. So yeah, this doesn't necessarily look 18 gauge. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to split it and try and take a quick look and see if 18 will clear this, or maybe this is 20 gauge. Nope, that's 18. Now, where the motors are placed, and then there's going to be a bracket that goes in. I'm going to jump ahead real fast. I just kind of want to see where, from a wiring standpoint, things will go. Bring up the browser window. Top frame and electronics wiring. Middle. And see, they didn't do the wiring here because they're not soldering. They were using the versions that have encoders on them. So it would be a plug for them, but we're going to be doing wiring. I just want to see where. Sorry, folks. Guess it probably doesn't matter. Which yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and make some random links and we'll cut them down if I need to. It's no big deal to, if I need to get more wire down the way, I'll get more wire down the way. So I'm sure I will have other projects that I can use small clips of wire for as well. I definitely want to get this, at least get the base wire on here because otherwise I will have to take this apart again later on. So, let's see, 200, go 250 mil or 25 centimeters. That should give us plenty to work with. And like I said, if I need to cut them shorter, I can cut them shorter. I just prefer not to have to cut them longer. Because cutting them longer, kind of doesn't work once you cut it. Okay. Let's go ahead and get these ends split apart and get them ready to solder. Now these tabs are very, very tiny. So pretty tiny little tabs that we're going to be trying to solder to. So we'll have to be careful there. We go to do our soldering. Yeah, I still need to have the electrical outlets done. That's gonna happen, hoping to go ahead and just do it before, like, Rocky Mountain, um, Rep Fest, but we'll have to see. We got a few expenses coming up that we weren't anticipating. Stuff out of the way there. Do a little bit of heat shrink on these as well. Won't take a lot. Yeah, when I go to have the electrical work done, it's not going to be that, um, shouldn't be that expensive and crazy. Right behind this wall behind me is a crawl space area, and it's pretty wide. I mean, it's a good, I don't know, 4 feet wide, so it's easy enough to get in there and scoot around and move. Um, it'll just be needing to drill some holes and place things appropriately. But right on the other side of that wall um, is the side panel of the garage where the electric thing's at. So it's literally like, I don't know, 6 feet up, coming over to the wall, and you can punch straight in. So not that bad. I mean, it's doable for somebody like me to do it. The problem is this is a new build, and I want to make sure that permits are pulled and things are done appropriately to keep the home's value. And yes, I know I should probably have a fume extractor going. The ends of those tend, and we will tend the pegs. That. Okay, and there was a side with a dot. I know the gentleman who wrote up the instructions said it was red. Um, I am pretty sure that is black and not red. What do you guys think? That black or red dot right here underneath my. I mean, I am red green color deficient, but that looks black to me all day long. So I don't know if they were, there's nothing in the documentation that says what they marked on these motors. So let's see if we can't take a look. Lulu, wait, or to oh, it looks red to you, but you have a yellow green deficiency. Okay, we might need to get Mrs. Dragon up here. She's listening. What I'm just doing is looking at the specs and stuff to see if it actually states anywhere that they mark a specific terminal. And the reason I'm worried, not necessarily worried, but the reason I'm looking is I'd prefer to have like red on red, black on black, just so I don't have to reverse wires later on and I'm using red and black wires. That means we'd be taking it back off and resoldering. And data sheet stuff, see nothing in here readily that points out the marking. All right, folks, give me 1 second. I'm going to quote unquote phone a friend and go ask Mrs. Dragon her opinion on that color. Bear with me 1 moment. Sorry about that. Okay, confirmation by Miss Dragon. It's red. So red is the one with the red will go to the one with the dot near the pole. Black will go to the other one. So Okay, so just like that. Put up our heat shrink. Cover up those terminals a little bit. Try and reduce the chance of any electrical shocks and stuff if we drop a screw or something. All right, so there's one motor done. We'll move on to the next. I haven't heard of a yellow-green color deficiency. It makes sense. Mr. Wizix and everybody, how's everybody doing this evening? Hope everybody is doing well and having a good day. And the one with the marked dot would be our positive. The other one's going to be the negative. And two more sets of wires secured. And close enough to this to shrink it down some. All right, and there's the first two things that we'll solder. Hopefully we'll get into some more tonight. We'll move through here. Kill that, come back to our build. We're going to go back over to the main frame assembly, which is what we were working on here. Start by reinstalling our motors. I'm going to set it down on the face here because I think it's a little bit easier to hold the motors in place. Everybody still hear me? That motor's in. We'll just flip this over. Get the second motor installed. Hey, Pez Liz, how's it going? How are you doing this evening? I am so sorry that I missed your inaugural Color Queen, right? Um, show. I will have to catch one of those here real soon. There will be more and with a title. Well, that's good. It's always good to have titles. All right, so now we've got our motor wires in here. Like I said, if we need to cut them to length or add more length to it or whatever, we will figure that out as we go. Make sure we do it with connectors so that it'll be a little more modular down the road. Now we're going to put our gear motors back on and lining one of the set screws up with the flat. And you don't want to push it all the way in because then it won't line up with the edge. You want to pull it out some so that it clears this front face edge. Every time I go to screw one of these down, it actually pulls itself further in. That's the flat. Now we got to spin it and get to the other side. And we'll have the ability to, just like doing any other spur gear on a extruder or something, we'll have the ability to come back in here and adjust them. It's just you have to put the outer wheels on, adjust it, probably put the outer wheels on, figure out what you need to adjust, take them off, try and make the adjustment, put them back on, verify. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Just because there's not a whole lot of space to deal with. Okay, so we got our motors with some motor wire and our gears in place. So we inserted our servo base and our central servo here on last stream. And this wheel is epoxied into or this larger gear is epoxied into the servo horn and then screwed on after it dried. So we did that part. That's all attached. We were at this stage where we were putting in our M3 and M4 nuts, where we realized that the three nuts along the outer edge here were too loose and they kept falling out. So what we needed to do was uh, get some hot glue, which I do have hot glue now. So we'll go in here and set these in there and add a little dab of hot glue on the outside to keep them in place. So, and I just realized that this hot glue gun does not have a stand, and I want to say I 3D printed one, but I have no idea where it went. That'll work, maybe. Seriously, like that down there to catch ooze. And like I said, we're just going to work on getting a couple of these in place, and then we'll just put a dab of hot glue in there, smear it off, and that should hold it in place while we continue to do the rest. You have a little Dio model. Okay, so is that one that you bought in the store, Pez, or got at Disney? Seriously? I grabbed my wife's hot glue gun and I realized, here we go. Hey, Zombie, how's it going? How are you doing this evening? We are playing with hot glue after doing some soldering. Hot glue to try and keep the square nuts in where they belong. because these square nuts kept falling out. And once we get them in there, we'll go through and we'll clean up the edge. You got your tool changer calibrated? Nice. One more. Pick off the little fuzzies. We'll let it dry a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and scrape off some of the excess if we need to. And then we've got this side, one on this side, here, and 4 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we got all 12 of the M3s in here. There was 12 M3s and 2 M4s. Got all those. Now let's unplug this until the next time we need it. Didn't print the resin version. Skip to the next step. And these parts, we've got our bearings installed. We got the 2 M4 nuts in here. That's a preparatory step. And then the next thing we need is the main gear piece here. Did I put file? Big file. There's a small. On the edge, I'm going to have to clean up. A little bit of elephant's foot. So we'll need the mini bar, three M3 square nuts, and an 1/8 inch drill bit. Do I have an 1/8 inch? 1/8 inch is what, 3 millimeter? Roughly, yeah, right? Trying to spec out a toolbox with more than 5 tools. Are you talking about just making it wider to have more tools? Hey, Make Mine Nexus, how's it going? Glad that the storm is letting up for you. Um, we're moving a little bit slow, but enjoying ourselves. Okay, so the main bar from M3 square nuts, 1/8 inch drill bit. First thing we want to do is drill the holes out as shown in picture 2 using an 1/8 inch drill bit. Okay, gotcha. So it's these 3 holes here where we just basically need to punch through the 3 holes at the end. So yeah, let's go ahead and grab our drill bit. And it's great that they start talking in 1/8 inch because I'm like, I've got a metric drill bit up here because, or metric drill bits up here because that's all I primarily use is metric anymore. Sounds good, Maker Mind. It really doesn't take much. You're just basically going through a couple of layers. Try not to put a lot of pressure going in there or you'll drill straight through. Because all you're trying to do is drill through there right into that gap. So you're basically just punching the hole through into the spot where your M3 nuts will go. We'll grab 3 more of our M3 square nuts and shove them in there. Nick, how's it going? Um, well, if he continues to extend his existing tap changer, then he might have that need. But if he goes with specking out a black box uses a single extruder that is shared for all the tool heads. And in talking with Chris, it looks like there was some misunderstanding of the timeline, and the files have been released, but the kit will not be here for Saturday's stream. So we won't have the we will not have a black box kit here to look at on Saturday, but shortly thereafter. You've had to buy a bunch of orbiters. Well, that stinks. So we've got our 3 M3 nuts installed. Here you will use the front insert print and 2 M4 by 10 long countersunk screws. 8 millimeter long screws will work as well if you don't have 10, but I use 10 just fine, okay? And this is, um, looking at your parts, this will be the one that has the little jog to it. That's the front. That's how you can tell the difference between the front and the back. So this is our front where our servo comes in. And we're going to install this with M4 by 10 screws, 20s, 4 by 10. Oh, well, yeah, it's still, there's still a little bit of cost there, but yeah. So this little tab right here locks into the bottom. So make sure that it sets fully down into the frame. And we will use our M4 by 10 screws coming in from the back. Or you can just be like me and drop it. Okay. And this is probably not going to, I'm going to have to use the ball ends here. Keep things straight and lined up. One there, one here. And just like that. These two screws here to hold that plate in. Okay. Now we're going to take our middle piece. Try not to continuously throw in 3 nuts out of it. Excuse me. It's called the main bar. We need 2 M4 by 20 millimeter long screws. We're going to insert the main bar into the bearing in the front. Okay. And throw a nut around it. Where did it go? Yes. So this geared end fits into the geared end of that big servo. Okay. We're going to take this, fit it through that bearing. And it's going to sit just like that. It's going to align with the gears in that servo. Make sure that the gear on the main bar is engaged with the gear on the servo. It should mess. And then we'll use the rear frame insert to insert or to go in here. Now, there is a figure, of course, one that's underneath. Give me 1 second. I need to put a little bit of glue on this. But the main bar here does have a hole in the center, and that's because your wires are going to come through at the end and then out through this channel. So you're going to be moving like this, and your wires are going to be coming right through the center of this channel and up out of this groove. So it's going to be imperative that um, that we place this, I'll say, in the right direction so that we'll be able to access this channel. Otherwise, we'll have to I prefer not to keep moving my servos around if I don't have to with them unpowered. Um, for the lurk zombie. Yeah, so you want to put it in there and leave this facing up so it's easier to work with. But angle this in there, line it up with your gears of your servo. Everything should be meshing with. No, it's hard to see with everything dark. And it'll look just like that. And then we'll come in here with the other end piece. Again, notch tab goes into the notch down at the bottom here. Lift it up, make sure everything gets lined up with your rear bearing. And we'll punch in our screws, which I just looked, and those need to be drilled out because they aren't, they're not through holes, so they capped them. So we'll have to drill these out real fast. And this is weird because it tells me to use countersunk screws, but this particular part does not have countersunk holes in it, which is weird because clearly in the image there, it is showing countersunk. So for now, I will put these in, but I may have to do some checking to figure out why. And also see if I've got um, not necessarily countersunk, but like button head M4s that are 20 millimeters long. Don't think I do. Of course, I'd prefer to have black ones rather than these. So I may have to just get some. And I may just countersink this part myself because I do have a countersink. Uh, just working countersink this tiny bit. So that doesn't account for the silver part or the silver screws, but we can work on that as needed. Easy enough to do a little bit of spray painting if needed because these will be visible. Need to go in just a little bit more, but we can, like I said, I can work on that. Any screw is countersunk if you apply enough torque. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Lead ballast. Here we will add the lead shot for ballast to keep everything stable. So, sweet. This is where we are going to literally, so these two central nodes right here that I have my fingers in, these are for the battery packs, but we're going to put it down in these big holes, these small holes, and the holes on the side. We're going to add ballast to. And that ballast is just standard lead shot. Okay. So I wish I could find the little funnel that I had. I don't know where it went. Probably on the floor somewhere because it was right up here. Um, and I probably knocked it over 2 or 3 times. So let me give a quick once over here real fast. And hey, and this would be why I want this funnel. It's a very small funnel. That funnel fits right there into that big chamber, which will allow me to pour my weighted media in there a little bit easier. So weighted media in this. What is this? Oh, is that? Oh, looks like it literally dodged. That sucks. That means I get to cut it open and hopefully not spill my balls everywhere. Give me 1 second to grab the scissors. And we'll drink some coffee to study ourselves. Yeah, do not eat the forbidden dipping dots. It would be great if there was like a zipper or an enclosure on it. But that will do. I want to have a big opening. There's apparently two of them got out from where I wanted them to be. So we'll have to figure out how to get those. But this is, so there is one big chamber underneath. So I should be able to fill most of this or all of this from this one side. Because as I'm filling it in here, I'm seeing them over on this side, at least on the front edge piece. Like I said, I also have a few that are right down here that I'm going to have to get out one way or the other. Lead balls, so magnet on a piece of metal. Seriously, that's not going to be enough to pick these up. That sucks. So we'll be yeah. I don't know why I'm worried about it now because chances are I'm probably going to put more down there. So we'll work on that a little bit later. Like I said, I'm trying to keep this hole pretty small so I don't get carried away as I'm doing this. This is one big central chamber. How much did it say to put in there? I could use 2 kilograms. 2 kilograms is what, 4.4 pounds. I've got a 5 pound bag here, so keep going. I'm kind of moving this side to side, front to back, because it is one big central cavity underneath here, and you're trying to spread it out and disperse it evenly, or as evenly as possible. I'm going to go ahead and put the whole bag in there. Well, why not? Yay! And I didn't drop any of my balls on the table or the ground. They're just in a cavity they're not supposed to be in. Let me see if I can get down there and get these couple of balls out of the place they're not supposed to be and get them in the right spot. Okay, I think nope, yep, got them all out. Exactly. We should all be careful about where we put our balls and not let them go where they're not supposed to be. And I hope somebody clips that for KB3D. And then I'm going to have to be very, very careful when I do my black box that I don't spill my balls everywhere. So Michael used 2 kilograms and I had 5 pounds left. So we used about the same, which will be shown here. And it's kind of hard to show. We see, I'm going to try and get it where I can get some good lighting on it. And then I will bring you guys in here and try and show you. But we've got balls in all of the cavities down there. You can even see some through there. Because once again, there's one big central cavity at the bottom of this, other than the 2 holes there that are for the battery. So, yeah, 2 kilograms is 2 times 2.2 is 4.4 pounds. I just did a 5-pound bag of lead shot. I'm going to try and just shake it around to even things out. And now we have about 5 pounds of lead shot in the base. Make sure to shake it around back and forth to evenly distribute the weight as much as possible. And then he talked to Michael about how to secure the ballast in place since the cavity is so large, it cannot be secured in place with epoxy, as it would take far too much epoxy to fill. And he said he used foam or bubble wrap to fill the cavity, which also makes it still removable. Went the cheap and what I had available route and just used paper towels. So I just used paper towels to stuff the cavities with, which I got paper towels and I've got a little bit of bubble wrap. I mean, with the way some of these strips are, I'm not sure how to do the bubble wrap. We can try and do some strips and the whole point here is just going to be to keep the lead weight down at the bottom and don't let it come all over the place. It's still giving us the ability to peel this stuff out if we need to pour all of our lead shot out at a later time. I'm just taking just a strip of this, cutting it into making a strip and then folding it over onto itself in like thirds. And then I'm just going to shove it down into the gap here. This is that L-shaped gap. We got an ad. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and honestly, right, so this part prints. Um, this part prints with this edge laying flat. So leave yourself the two holes here. Close off the rest of this. It doesn't need to be open. Leave yourself these two holes, and then you can just shove stuff down into these two holes. You know, these don't need, I mean, I think structurally he left them open, but I don't know why. Because who's going to try and fill balls in these little cutouts? You know, you're not going to try and fill balls in through this slot, right? This hole and this hole is perfectly fine for it. So cap the rest off, pour your media in one or both of these holes, stick it around, and then just cap off these two holes and you're good. But with all of these little slivers like this, that's going to be the fun part, trying to figure out how to cut things to fit into those slivers. But yeah, I think some type of TPU plug would go a long way right here. Yeah, a plug would be nice. I mean, the bubble wrap works, but at the same time, I can't guarantee that the bubble wrap's going to keep everything down there. Now, I I do not intend on rolling this over on its top at any given point. So, um, I guess if you really wanted to be like kind of crazy and aggressive, you could take some spray foam and spray foam it. I mean, that will expand. Oh yeah, I'm sure I know somebody that's got TPU printing capabilities. Like I don't know the TPU that's sitting in my Mark IV right behind me. Because that's not the one that I'm having the extruder problem with right now, so it can still print. Just a bit too wide. So did everybody see the Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Fest promotional video? It's the only thing you brought up after you got off work. Well, I'm glad to be, worthy of your after work relaxation videos. God knows I need them. Work's been a little more stressful these days than I would like, but I guess that's why we call it work, huh? All right, now for these other pieces, I'm just going to take strips and just kind of shove them down in there. These are the squares that I use to fill it up. Gonna kind of pack it down in there a little bit. Your work's for a jerk, so you get, well, I'm a manager, so, but luckily I just did my performance reviews with my team and they apparently don't think I'm a jerk, so I'm doing something right. Then we had I do cybersecurity, so we had to do all of our risk reviews with our VP today. So that's the part that's just annoying. Like, well, why haven't you got this stuff done? Well, why do you keep cutting my people? Alrighty, so there we go. We've pretty much shoved uh, paper, or not paper, but bubble wrap into all of our open orifices. We got all of our balls are in there. Still have a little bit of room to move around, but that's okay. Because I don't want to like shove these down all the way in there. I do want a little bit of a friction fit in the tops here. So, and that's the frame assembly complete. Nice. So, we'll give them some points. Oh, I keep trying to give them points, but I don't want to log in. All right, so mainframe's done. Now we would be the head and neck box. So this is where we're going to need some other parts. So this piece will go off to the side for now, along with the rest of our pieces here. What do you guys think? Do you want to take the balls out of one of these and see if the 10mm balls I got fit a little bit better? Or should I just wait until I go to paint these? Take it off then. Oh, I was just going to set it in there, but now we can actually do it right. So we're going to take this and line it up on our gear, rotate our facade around, and we'll use, what was it, the M3 by 8s. Do this. So these M3 by 8s are going to attach your side pieces to this main frame. Like so. And that's where you want to make sure that your gear is in alignment with the big rotating gear here, right? So that's what's going to allow your wheel to move around. This one. And so one, I wanted to do this just to make sure that everything moved, right? But what I'm noticing is there's a little bit of a gap on this one side. So this one needs to come out a little bit. So we'll have to fix that. But that's kind of our main piece. Whoops. Kind of our main piece as we're done right now. So we'll set that aside. Hey, Fotis, how's it going, my friend? Welcome on in. We're chugging away here. We've been working on the main part, which is this centerpiece here. We pulled the gear motors or the drive motors out, and soldered the wires to them, and then we put them back in, and we kept going. We added our central gear piece here, and the central gear piece on this side, um, it's got a hole in the middle of it, and that's going to allow us to fish wires through this hole and then up through the middle of this axle. So this axle is not going to be moving that much. It'll move probably 20, 30 degrees each way. So this will allow our wires from the head unit to come down, go through that center axle, and then be mounted on the electronics, which are going to be up here in this top piece. So for now, we just kind of assembled that so that we can set off to the side and it's out of the way. Um, yeah, we're doing good. Hey, 3D Medic Vince, welcome on in. Daddy Wisey, the creator, welcome on in. Well, you can give yourself your own review, and we tend to be our own worst critics. So you would wait until I paint it. You would wait until I paint what? Oh, as far as swapping out the bearings, yeah. Yeah. I'll let them go on these for now. And then, like I said, I've got two different types. Um, these particular bearings, way more expensive, but I could get them in like now versus having to wait almost a month. Um, but these ones are nylon bearings. We'll give these a shot. These are nylon bearings. The other ones are, I think, polypropylene bearings, PP bearings. Um, yeah, they should be good. But we'll give these a shot. Like I said, we'll do it after we paint because I'm gonna have to disassemble the Lazy Susan anyhow to paint these rings here green. So you're right. It makes no sense to go through and swap balls now, only to when I know I'm gonna have to do it again later. Um, so we'll hold off on doing that. Hey, Papa Bear AZ, welcome on in. Welcome on in. So we're gonna start with, whoops, attaching servos. So we're going to take the MG90 servo and the servo mate frame out there. As soon as I find that little sucker. Seriously, where did I put that? Oh, it looks so big there. It looks so small here. Okay, we got that. We need the MG90 servos. And once again, we got those in bulk because, if we're buying stuff, we don't want to sit here and buy just the right amount. Because you never know, things break. You may install one and it be DOA, and you don't know until you apply power. So buying a pack, and chances are you can always use these. So once again, there's 3 more of these bigger servos that we used down here in the base. So, and there are options for different types of servos depending on kind of how much you print and what type of material you use to print your upper head parts. But I think, what is this, a 10 pack? Yeah, 10 pack servos. So not that big of a deal. Pick up a few. You'll use 1 or 2, and you'll have spares because invariably you'll tear some up, or just over time and overuse, you'll break one. Having these as, having some of these as spares to take to a show with you in case, something breaks at the show, you have the ability to repair it. Always a good thing. Can't tell you how many shows I've been to where I've had to try and print parts for people because they broke their death racers or something, and they just didn't have anything that could print like ABS or what have you. So always have the spare parts. I don't know why I was getting ready to put that away. I'm going to need more later on, but and these are the MG90S. These are the Metal Gear version of the. I don't know if you can see in there. Yes, this is metal, but that's normally metal. These are Metal Gear based servos. So we'll have this. We'll have the mounting pieces, um, mounting screws that come with the servos, and one M3 square nut. Metal Gear Solid. Yep. Yep. Okay, so whoops, we need the M3 nuts as well. Also is there. And as you see, I keep closing the lid on that because if I don't, I will knock it over and spill screws everywhere. It turns into a screw sorting. Screw the servo into the head frame in the orientation shown in the picture. The gear on the servo will be in line with the tab on the top. This tab will be positioned above the servo body. So what it's talking about is this tab here. We want to line it up so that the servo lines up with the top of this head. So we're going to place our servo like that. That tab and this servo gear are going to be in line. I want to do it the other way where we're going to go through this into the plastic, and these are what you call them, self-tapping screws. Self-tapping Phillips head screws, and of course that wire is going to be right in the way as I try and tighten this one in. I'm not going to tighten it all the way down until I get the other one started. You are screwing this into plastic, so don't ugga-dugga it to death. You don't need to. And then we will insert the M3 square nut into that hole in that tab. I should have done this before we put the servo in where we had more fat finger room. Stay in there, so we'll have to be careful and cognizant. We might have to put a little bit of let's put a little hot glue on it. Let's warm this up. We're getting good at hot gluing things. And what's coming next? This step will use the head frame with the servo attached. Previous step and the headbox print A. So currently my headbox is all white. You can almost tell from the looks of it that they just painted this in. So I will mask this off and paint this, the rib pieces here, black. And then this piece here, I think winds up being black. And if the whole thing is black to include the underpiece here, I may just reprint this in black down the road. If not, once again, I'll mask off this piece paint it black, call it good. We'll use the head frame, insert the head frame, which we're going to apply a little bit of our glue to hold that nut in. Yes, no, be so. I am spoiled by my TS-101. It's hot and ready to solder in the blink of an eye, and then you get something like this. Takes a little bit to heat up. All right, so hot snot applied. We're going to insert the frame into the head box and insert it into the slots inside as shown in the picture. Okay, so it's got some fuzzies on it. So there's these slots. See if I can get a good up top and down below. So these edges are going to go into those slots, and then they want us to hot snot them in place. So let me turn the hot snot back on. I guess read ahead before I start shutting it back off. And servo, tab, cutouts, little black area so it goes in this way. Okay, so it's going to go in there, yeah, kind of like that, where these legs drop down into the slots. And then we're just going to apply a little bit of hot glue on either side to hold it in place, possibly, or not, because I can't get my hot glue gun in there. Let's drop a daub. And when I say drop a daub, I am literally airdropping a daub of glue down into that area. All right. So, like I said, not the prettiest. We just kind of airdrop some dabs of super glue down there. Uh, we'll clean it up if we need to, but I think that's just going to do some good. We could have also um, like put glue on the ends and then just quickly shoved it into place. But use hot glue because you want to be able to take it back out. If something breaks, you want to be able to take it back out. Oh wow, he actually used the two-part epoxy to do that. I didn't think that it was supposed to be in there permanently. Well, for now we have it in there with some hot glue. I guess I can pick that back out and we can go in there with some epoxy. Glue just kind of fixates it in place for now. We'll leave those in there. We'll take them out. We'll put some epoxy in there now. I would say that just felt like, playing with an Ender 3, but it's a lot harder to get the glue off the Ender 3. So, grab one of our sticks here. Give me pokey stick. Give me the pokey stick. Thank you. Pokey stick. We'll mix up a little bit of our two-part epoxy. Gonna need a lot, so grab a little bit. And I'm going to use the back of my stick to stir it and mix it up. And then if I need to, I can use the pointy end to actually dab it in there. But you want to make sure that you mix up your epoxy really good. "15 to 20 seconds. This is a 5-minute epoxy, so we don't have a whole lot of working time. We also means that we don't have a whole lot of time to wait for it to set up either. I know I've done some projects in the past, model airplanes and stuff like that, where you're using like 30-minute epoxy. It just always kind of sucks waiting for parts to glue together so that you can go on to the next step. That Put it there. Just going to hold this for a few minutes to let that glue set up. Big Jeno, how's it going, Jeno? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for coming on in tonight. I started off, I was just hot gluing this in place, and then it said to go ahead and um, epoxy it in. So we're gonna epoxy it. And I'm pushing down to make sure that this frame is fully in the slots as well, so that it won't come out once this epoxy sets. Now you plan on securing the servo horn to the servo couple print to make things more secure in the long run. For this, I used a 9/32 drill bit. Drill out the center hole of the servo couple so I can access the center screw servo to attach the horn couple to the servo. Okay. And now we need to find that. Oops. Yep, it's this one. You'll see there's a hole on this side, goes all the way through, and then through slot on that side. Can't see through the center piece here. I don't know if it shows up here, but that is, it's like an overhang. It's just an overhang print to add a bottom to that, make sure that everything prints nice up top. So we'll go ahead and clear that hole, and it calls for a 9/32 drill bit. So I may have to step away briefly to go downstairs and get my non-metric drill bits so that I can work on that. Yeah. But I'm trying to give this a couple of minutes to set up before I let go of it, just so it stays nice and tight. What are we going to do with this piece? You'll use the servo horn, the servo couple print, head bar, and the head box. So the head box, the servo couple print that we're going to drill a 9/32 hole in. We'll need the servo horn, and that is the straight servo horn. Um, Head bar, which is this print. Now this, don't like the surface finish. Might take the sandpaper to get too far. Let me double check real fast. I think there's a sleeve that goes over it. Once again, I don't know. It must have been a cooling issue. Gotta, which is weird because this piece printed straight up. right? Now, why there is a certain area or point where that cooling went to crap, not all the way around, it's partially around, and it's about 2/3 of the way up this print that the cooling went to crap on it. May have to reprint some. We'll see. Of course, it tells me and mix a small piece, a little bit of epoxy. Well, that would have been good before letting this all harden up. Could have used that to do servo arm. Let me go get my 9/32 drill bits. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for running off again. That was a 9/32. Now, don't ask me why they continue to do, we'll call them imperial or SAE sizes when badly, and I believe the guy that I'm following the instructions on are like UK. So we've got this, and I believe it talks about epoxying it just like that. So let's double check. I'm probably still gonna have to make up some epoxy. So we got this piece, these two pieces. Yeah. Face the servo horn so it's facing the direction. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Just reading through this, and the next step in test fitting everything in place to make sure that nothing you need to sand to fit. You can see on my head bar, I had to sand the part that goes into the head box to fit smoothly. You will have limited time once epoxy is mixed to test fit. Yep. So we'll go through this anyhow. So place the servo horn so it's facing the direction of the body shown in picture 2. So we'll set this down with, and that just pulled out. So, well, that was nice. My epoxy didn't set up, so we'll be re-epoxying that in a minute. Nice. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so we'll work on it. Place the servo horn so it's facing the direction of the body as shown in picture 2. Small amount of epoxy. Gonna drop on the arm of the servo. Make sure you do not put it in the center hole for the servo horn. See the drop in the next. You can see the drop. Okay. Yeah. So basically, we're going to set this on the servo horn, and we're putting epoxy so it goes right there on that. We're going to want to install this on the servo horn mounting screws. We'll go ahead and get this installed on the servo so that we can then take this off. We'll put that back in place in a second. Okay, new epoxy. Let's try this again. Hey Ozzy, how's it going? Hope you're having a good time. We're having a great time. We're making all kinds of messes. 'Okay, and once again, that part was towards the top plate. 5-minute epoxy. We've got our servo horn there. We'll need a little dollop on the servo one, right about there. This piece needs an M3 bolt in it. Okay. Servo arm. Come through here, go through the center spot to hold things aligned. So everything's going to go in there. Now what we need to do is wait on the epoxy to set. Take a couple of minutes. We'll wait a couple of minutes. Yeah, that's another thought that I have making my Nexus is hanging. I've got a 24 port gigabit switch, and I'm thinking about hanging that underneath one of my shelves behind me and then direct connecting each one of my printers up. They'll be direct connected to the network drop versus going over the wireless. I think that'll actually be a better way of doing the printer networking drops. And once again, I'm trying to hold these things all compressed together to um, let that epoxy sit that up. And we are using 5-minute epoxy. Yes, Smith, we are building the DO Droid. We'll also be building a, whatchamacallit, a mini chopper droid that we're doing with Creatix Brit. So I think I'm doing mini chopper and she's doing mini cheap. just looking ahead to see what's next. So once everything's dried, we'll take this head bar out. We'll undo the servo coupler, remove that. We'll put an M3 into that servo couple, and loose. You can use some glue to hold it in place. There's a servo arm and a resin printed servo couple. Put the piece in there and hot glue it if need be. Screw the servo horn back on. Once again, I'm just reading ahead while we're letting this epoxy set up. Hoping that it sets up well with no issues. There's a crossbar we will use. Thin little printed crossbar we will use just as a say like a spacer piece on the back to keep the back from clamping or being squished in. It's a little brace. What's everybody else working on this evening? Well, like we have an ad that may be starting soon. No, MakerMind Nexus is running network drops. Big Jano, what have you been working on? I got some more of my lights working, Big Jano. So I now have the color lights going the full length. It used to just go the first two shelves because if I plug the third strip in, it wouldn't light up because these are 5-volt lights. So they're just not, I guess there's not enough current to feed all three just going through the one side. So on the one side, I've got a WLED controller and well, when I say a WLED controller, I have I believe it's an ESP32 with WLED installed. And that's plugged into the 3 wires, but I'm also inputting power on the left side. And now I'm inputting power on the right side as well at the end of the strip. And I'm just bringing 2 lines back, and I've got the 5-volt strip hanging on a board, or a 5-volt PSU hanging on a board underneath the centerpiece here, and everything going into some Wago mount. And what I'm going to be able to do is come off of that. How am I going to do that? So I wanted to come off the same WS32 for the Solar 3DP. So Solar 3DP designed this for me. So, it's then diffuser print. and it's designed to run lights around the edge, and of course, run your wires through the bottom. And you can just pop this on there, and then that'll be your lighted up sign. I got some ring lights, but the ring lights, I'll say, are like only cover like that much. So I haven't found large ring lights, so I'm just gonna have to just ring the inside, maybe put a ring light in the middle as well to add some additional color in the middle if I need to. But I wanted to be able to run this off the same signal. But if I run power to that, I would just need a signal ping coming from the WS32, correct? Because I can set up separate GPIO pins to control them separately from WLED. Yes, no, maybe so, maybe not. This should be set now. Seems to be. Give it just a couple more minutes before I pull this servo horn off. I'm sure if I've lost everybody. I'll see a bunch of people listed in the stream, but I'm not seeing any responses. We got an ad started. While we're waiting, I am going to sand this down just a little bit. Grab the heavier duty grit. And I don't think it's imperative this be perfectly smooth because there's another piece that was going to slide over the top of this, right? And it's going to cover that up for the most part. So this will actually go into the head, and then this is going to get covered up with this other piece. But this piece here does need to get sanded down and smoothed out some. And potentially, um, depending on how this goes and how it feels, I may put some UV resin on it and cure it and then smooth it out. And I'm quite possibly going to go through and just completely paint this stuff. So okay, so that's all sanded down. Um, where were we? We got this part should be pretty well epoxied into place now. Still able to move. Okay. Undo the bullhorn. That seemed to epoxy. That's good. We need to put an M3 nut in here, in one of our M3 square nuts. Nut is a little loose, so we will go ahead and fire up our hot glue so we can capture that nut in the part so it doesn't go anywhere. And we'll be lined up later on when we need to put stuff in place. Move the head bar, we removed the servo couple. We added the M3. We're going to put a little bit of hot glue in here to hold it in place. And place it back on the servo in the previous step using the center screw that came with the servo. Blah, blah, blah. And all of the Droid parts were printed in Polymaker PLA. So, and that goes for both this Droid and the Dio and the mini chopper have all been printed in Polymaker PLA so far. Not sure if I do a big droid, I'll probably work on doing it in ABS, just so it'll be more resilient when I move it around and stuff. But for now, this works perfectly fine. Take this and mount it back up in there. Okay, now we take this rear brace and it actually got the little dog legs in it, and it will clamp down in these side pieces. So like that, and that's just to give it the ability to resist clamping at the back. Okay. Next step, we'll install the head bar to the headbox assembly. We'll use the M3 by 16 long countersunk screw, M3 by 16. Insert the head bar into the head box and into the servo couple till the hole through the head bar lines up. We'll use that screw. So this being the top of the box, we're going to bring our piece in, line it up in that head servo where everything lines up, M3 by 16 screw through the top. And we're going to screw that down in there. Okay, there's our head box assembly. 3 servos in the head box, neck of the droid, the wires connected to those servos, not long enough to reach the electronics, be installed. Okay, so this is where it'll get fun, and we may actually hold this off for the next stream, and that is the wiring that we're going to do. So there's 3 total servos in the head unit, right? So you'll have one here that will keep the head up and down like this, well, the whole head assembly, right? You'll have one in the neck, which allows the um, head to turn left to right. And then there will be one up that will let it nod left to right. Okay. Um, so what we'll do is we'll bring one power, one uh, ground up, and that will feed all 3 servos. So we'll tie all 3 servos into a common ground and a common power, and then we'll extend all 3 of the signal wires down. That makes sense. So once again, the power and ground are common to each other. And it doesn't matter which red and black go to which servo because of this. You're using 18 gauge for the red and the black wire to make sure that everything, uh, you know, there's enough amperage going through, or the wire can hold enough amperage. Rotate the head bar to make sure that the channel is facing up. So like that, you'll be able to work with it. Um, Picture 2 shows the wires that we feed through, and he suggests 178 millimeters of wire sticking out from the hole inside the head box for the neck. Feed the wires through the frame, and we'll add that head box piece on and close the head box up. Feeding everything up, keep feeding everything up. Well, I guess we can go ahead. So we need okay, there we go. We need 27 inches of wire. So 686 millimeters of wire in total length. So let me put some stuff back in the box for now. We'll grab our long ruler because we're going to need to measure out 27 inches of wire. And we're going to need 18 gauge. So where's my 18 gauge wire that we used earlier? Okay. So this is our 27 inches long of our 18 gauge wire. And then what I'll do is I'll see if I have any like motor extension wire that I can use. Because once again, the other three wires are just signal wires. So they don't need to be um, like 18 gauge, 20 gauge, or anything like that. They can be smaller gauge wires without a problem on those. And we'll probably need the space in the channel to route them anyhow. Let me see real fast if I've got the motor wires that we've cut off in the past that are long enough that we can steal some wire from. By motor wire, I'm literally talking motor wire. And this motor wire, believe it or not, is going to be long enough. We'll have was it a blue, green, yellow, and we won't use the red because we only need 3. I'm going to keep this to the same length. Cut that off. This is extraneous. Maybe we'll hold on to it in case we need that type of, gauge wire later on for another part of the build. But like I said, we won't need the red wire, so we can just peel the red wire out of here. Okay. Hey, Westery, how you doing, sis? Hope you're doing well. We are working on our droid build here. I was just thinking about like, do I stop for the night or do I keep going because we hit a wiring stage? We're going to keep going for a little bit. We're trying to get some wire ready for our servo feeds here. Now, he also said we did 27 inches of wire, and he stated that he pulled about 7 inches through at the neck. So I'm just going to kind of measure out 7 inches is about there. And that's what we need to feed through this neck opening. Which might be easier said than done with my 18 gauge wire. Let me do something. 7 inches about. Make a mark there. There you go. See, that's all we needed was for Westery to show up, and now everybody's talking again. How's my little girl doing, Westery? I haven't seen Mia in a long while. Is she planning on starting her streams up again? Oh, you dirty dog. There we go. So, trying to get my thicker 18 gauge silicone wires through here first. And hopefully I can kind of push these down into the neck some. kind of get them out of the way so I can run my smaller wires in through here as well. Once again, the smaller wires are just there to be signal wires for the servos. They're just going to tell it to move one way or the other. So they're not critical that they be heavy gauge wires like the common power wires are going to be that we're running up. Then all we're going to do is just kind of make these the same length again, keeping everything nice and same lengthwise. Run this down the little wire rail. And it says to run these through. We got the about 7 inches sticking through the hole. That's what we got there. Now we're going to install the head box cover. Want to run this through, looking at this from the top, through this right side of the um, servo mount area. There also. Okay, so we're going to be coming up this leg, round through our servo arm, and then we're going to come up on this side of the servo. So all of our wires are coming in through the same side. And then once again, this piece here is going to have a sleeve that covers it up and just holds these wires in place. That will be this piece. So I'm just going to slip this on there just for the time being to kind of hold these wires in place. Keep them from going all haywire on me. So that's kind of how that's going to slide on there. It's going to, leave our wires exposed a bit. Again, this is going to be sitting here, on the side. So this makes the base of our head. This will help hold the wires in place and out of the way. Got our wires. Now we're going to slide the head box skin, which is this piece. Now, this entire piece, I think, is supposed to be black. So I am most likely going to reprint this piece in black just so it's easy. So I don't have to sit here and try and repaint it. I'll just reprint this piece in black. So no harm, no foul. While sliding the head box B over head box A, feed the wires through the center hole here. We're going to take these as much as possible and get them going through the center hole before we start to put this in. That'll make it easier to guide stuff. This is going right down in this slot here. So rides on that slot there, rides on a top slot here. This bottom piece is going to come down and latch underneath. Top piece will just sit there, feel very sturdy. Doesn't feel like it's locking in place anymore. But when we put the center box on there, there's going to be a screw that comes down, which will in effect lock that in place. So, hey, Hybrid Robotics, how's it going? Time to start working on IP addressing now. Yeah. I've got all of my printers set up to use a dedicated IP on my local router. What I really want to do is set them up to pull, an IP via wired. And then when I go to shows, I'll have a wireless router so I can get to it on my phone and stuff. But I want to be able to plug things directly in as well at the shows because then I don't have to worry about wireless other than being able to start prints from my phone or something. So we've got this in place. The hole at the top of the box should line up with the hole in the square, which it does, right? And we'll use the main net print and the headbox assembly. Okay, so that's the main neck print. Okay. There's a guy from his name, Mantis Hacks, and I believe he changed this and made this a two-part print so that you can print this neck piece here in TPU because right now there's really no flex to it. But if you print the neck in TPU, it might give you a little bit more flex as you're moving the head around. So we've got this piece. We're going to feed all the wires through the large opening of the neck. Once again, small, small, large. So it's going to go through the large opening. Okay. And that large opening is going to line up with that opening right there, by the way. Like so. And we're going to use an M3 by 10 countersunk screw, which would have been great if I had gotten that out ahead of time. See if I can one hand this. M3 by 10, 2 millimeter driver. And we're going to put it in there in that hole and into that M3 nut that we put on top of that servo control horn for the lower servo. That's going to line everything up. Okay. So there's our head box going so far. Whoops. Screw will go through the main neck, the head box B skin, and into the head frame where the square nut is previously installed. Here we'll use another MG90 servo and the 2 mounting screws that came with the servo. You'll want the single servo horn and machine screw that comes with the servo as well. Okay, so we're going to need to grab another servo. This is where I said we wind up using, I think, 3 total MG90S servos. I just realized we dropped that out. Well, that's we'll have to put that back in there. Hey, KB3D Chris, welcome on in. Thank you for the subscribe, the resub for what is that, 11 months? Wow, wheat. Okay, so now we're going to take this out. We'll try and get this piece back in there. Wire spread back through. Oh, having fun. How's it going, Chris? Long time no see. I'm looking forward to seeing you again at Rocky Mountain, though. Oh, seriously. Okay, so we're back to where we were. Let's lay this down there like that. We're going to need our another MG90 servo. In fact, we'll probably go ahead and just grab two out of here since we know we're going to need two more. Two more. Grab two more of the servo horn packs. Put these back in here and we should be done with them for now. We miss you too, Chris. We miss you too. Been a while. We hadn't heard from you, so we hope everything's going well. I did give people an update earlier in the stream that there was some miscommunication between you and I on the black box timeline, but that black box will be going out, I believe you said sometime next week. So it's not going to be here for the birthday, but it should be sometime soon afterwards. So, okay, so we're going to need another one of our MGN90 servos, the mounting screws, single servo horn, and a machine screw that comes with that as well. So the single servo horn again, the center screw for that, and then two of the mounting screws. Probably just combine all these into one package later. Okay, so we've got that out. There is a notch in the neck for the servo wires so they do not get pinched. You can see this location in picture 2. Notch in the neck. Okay. There is a notch up here on the neck to allow the servo wires to go in and come through. do some turn and twist and stuff to get this in there. Oh, oop, my bad. There's a notch. There is a notch down here in this printed part um, on this side. Once again, black was the wrong thing to print stuff in. That will allow that wire to go down in there and allow you basically to slide your um, servo in at an angle. Come on, work with me, darn it. Here we go. Maybe you can see in there where the servo wire kind of comes around this way. And you'll see where the wire comes out there. There's a cutout underneath this right side. So we're going to use the 2 servo mounting screws to mount this servo. Not happy with Windows 11 and your Bluetooth headset. Oh, I, I wish I could give you some assistance there, but I don't use Windows 11 yet. My main streaming computer right here, the motherboard can support Windows 11, but it needs a TPM module. And I had one on order for 18 months and then finally said to hell with it and canceled it because it obviously was not going to get here anytime soon. So I will stay on Windows 10 until I'm forced to upgrade, at which time I will get a different motherboard that'll hopefully have the TPM module to support Windows 11 out of the get-go. Loose? There we go. So there we go. All of our other um, servo wires are on this side. This is this one here. And we'll attach the servo horn going towards this cutout area on the top neck piece. So that's the direction the servo horn's going to go in. So once again, I'm using all MGN90 servos. So these are metal geared servos that I'm using. So hopefully that works well. See what up next. Oxy servo horn to top neck. You use your 2-part epoxy to secure the servo horn to the top neck print. Looking at picture 1, you can see to apply a small dab of epoxy to the servo horn. Top neck print, make sure not to put epoxy on the screw securing the servo to the horn. That would be bad because then it would never come back off. Oops. Make this a little bit bigger, and I just realized you guys are not seeing this, so Um, yeah, so on this print, there's a cutout for the servo horn, and we're going to put a little bit of epoxy on both the servo horn and this print. So we're looking right here at this little ledge, and then once again, right on the edge, the inside edge of that servo or the servo arm. So it's the little ledge that you can see in the cutout here. Little ledge is where we're going to put, which means it's time to mix up a little bit more epoxy. Running out of places to mix up a little bit of epoxy. Maybe we can do it right there, just a little bit. Really don't need much. And like I said before, I probably should be using gloves with the epoxy, but you know what the hell. Okay, now that we have that, we need to put a little dab there, a little more of a dab. We're going to put a dab on the servo horn. Okay, little dab will do you. We're just going to line up this part and push it down on there. Of course, I guess my wires are supposed to come up through here, and they may get in the way if I don't put them through there now. So wires going up through each side, and I'm just pushing this down onto that servo horn, trying to keep it lined up. Wait for that epoxy to set. is a 5-minute epoxy, so should set decently in 5 minutes, and then I think it takes a full day to cure 100%. So, Chris, I got the I got all three of my light strips running now. Um, I had to move my power supply, so I moved the power supply underneath the center set of shelves, and I've got it screwed to a piece of plywood, I think like half-inch plywood. It's hanging between the rack supports, and I'm running power injection to both ends of the string. So I now have all the lights fully behind all three shelves. And I'm going to add another light, set of lights to the sign, the logo that Solar 3DP made for me. And we'll get that added in. And then we'll need to start setting up some control commands. I'll be pinging you to talk about control commands later on. And I know this is like watching paint dry. Trust me, I'm sitting here holding this thing, trying to keep it steady. Yeah, and the I can't use regular clamps because one, this is fairly big, and two, the underside of this is very like this whole bottom piece is like 2 layers thick. So it's very, very I don't want to say yeah, it's flimsy. It's delicate. That would be the term I wanted. It's delicate. And it's delicate for a reason. And it may wind up being that I still have to replace these servos because the head gets too heavy and I have to replace it with heavier servos. Um, so that's one thing you got to be cognizant of here is just being careful that you don't get too much weight on these servos. Not high enough. I thought I was gonna thought I was gonna be able to get there. That's not high enough. Let that sit there and continue to dry. Um, So he applied a little bit more epoxy. Okay, so he kind of epoxied the gap. I might do that a little bit late. Well, because this is probably already, yeah, this is already starting to set up. So I'd have to do some more epoxy. I may do this a little bit later just to strengthen that joint, kind of slot some epoxy over that. If I had read that, I would have done it earlier. Next time I do epoxy, I'll do that. We let we need to let it fully cure, and by fully cure, that's 24 hours. I believe we're done for the day as far as the stream. We're coming up on 9 o'clock. Um, yeah, I think we're at a good stopping point here where we need to let all the stuff that we've epoxied fully set up for the night. Um, and it pretty much what you see here is how this table's going to stay for the most part. Um, I will clean this all up tomorrow. Um, but Saturday we will be working on the um, Trident. And between now and Saturday, I will be working to get the full head back together for Fey Dragon because I still have one more plate of parts to print for the Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder 2 that we will be putting on the Trident. I do have the stuff for the tool head done for Trident, so we will be able to put together the tool head for Trident. So that will happen. Um, and Chris, you weren't here earlier. Yes, I'm gonna have to clean up a lot of stuff here because I got stuff all over the Trident. You weren't here earlier, but uh, our main frame here, we put 5 pounds of lead pellets in here, and not to toot my own horn or anything, but we didn't spill any balls on the table or the ground when we poured 5 pounds of balls in here. Now I will tell you, my little Gridfinity funnel worked perfect. There are holes that you can fill through, and this fit perfectly down into one of those holes, and I just filled through it. And then we had to go through and stuff all the openings that aren't getting like the 2 battery openings. All the other openings we stuffed with bubble wrap. So there's 5 pounds of lead weight balls down here, and then we just stuffed bubble wrap in all the holes to keep it from falling out. But once again, the Lazy Susan, so the side pieces, 1, 2, 3 screws, and the side pieces can come off. The main wheel comes off. I may paint the main wheel, I may not. I am going to paint the side rings and the side plates. So this would be the side plate. It'll have magnets put on the sides, and this will go right over the side plate there. We'll have some accent pieces that will get painted green and added on there. And then that'll make up the side. There'll be another one on the other side. And once again, there's magnets on either side that are going to align and attach. So that's all that holds that side piece on. Our arm will go right here. When I take the Lazy Susans off, this black ring that you see, these are the actual drive wheels, are these black rings. So the sides will come off. I'll take the black rings off. I'll spray paint those green. The accent pieces that go here will get spray painted green. All of this will get sanded down and spray painted white so that I can then age it. But there are like scuff marks and damage marks on this piece. It's kind of hard to see, um, but there are like damaged areas on here that we'll be able to highlight once we get it painted and everything. So we're going to lightly sand this. We're going to paint it. Yeah, we're going to try and do it all up, make it look good. Yep, exactly. There's times when you can glue things and just let it sit there or clamp it. There's other times where there are regular shapes and you are the clamp, right? Um, so yeah, the nice thing is between now and next Tuesday when we will stream this build again, I may have decent weather on Sunday that will allow me to spray paint. And I'm going to prime the rings and then spray paint them the green. And you may see these primed. I'm not sure if I'll get them all painted with a couple of coats, but we'll see. It depends on how well the weather holds out on Sunday and Monday. But right now, my option would be to um, spray paint stuff and, whoops, my option would be to spray paint stuff in the garage, but then I would have to bring it inside to let it dry because it's too cold outside, right? And I've already got I know people have said, like, especially with your filler primer, put it in water, put it in warm water, and let it warm up. You want it a little bit better than room temperature because it'll spray easier and you won't get some clumps in the filler. But warm it up, shake it really, really well. Light coats, several light coats, dust it. Don't go in and just go heavy on it. Light coat, dust it. So we'll work through that and get things hopefully done well. And thank you, Mr. Wiz. I think we are making some good progress here. Uh, I'm enjoying this build. It's an interesting build. It's kind of stuff that I haven't done in the past, so it's pretty nice. Um, but thank you everybody for being out here and hanging out with me on stream today. Um, we got an ad break going on. For those of you that can still hear my voice, remember that next week we will come back to this build and we will continue building DO. And if I need to, we'll keep building them and then we'll come back and work on finishing them, right? And by finishing them off, I mean spray painting them, and then coming back in and doing any painting that we need to, as far as um, like detail, the weathering, the damage, that type of stuff. I'll be reaching out and doing some lifelines to some people that I know, like Creatix Brit and stuff, to try and help me out with said lifelines. Um, because yeah, I'm going to need help. I'll be the first to admit I don't paint, or I haven't painted other than, hey, let me spray paint something or put some type of I was going to say dye, but not dye. Some type of uh, stain and or like lacquer or something like that type of finish on some wood pieces. So this is going to be a learning curve on several fronts for me, which is why I'm doing it, right? Is to kind of get out of my comfort zone. So thanks everybody for being here. Our ads are now done. Everybody's back. I'm going to go to main screen. Um, folks, I'm not sure if Jano, let's see, does it give me Jano? Is Jano running stream right now? And is he doing marble races tonight? Somebody tell me. Oh, thanks, Mr. Wiz. Like I said, this is something completely new. I think this is fun content for everybody. I hope so. It's fun content for me. We'll see how You know how the views and stuff go both here and on um, YouTube go. But yeah, I'm enjoying the build so far. Try and get some things put away because, like I said, I am going to have to move some things around so that we can get to the Trident tomorrow or Saturday. And like I said, I need to check and see who's on. I wanted to see if Jano's on. And if he is, we'll bounce over to Jano. If he's not, then we'll go find somebody else. No, Brit's on. I don't see Jano on. If I remember, I think Jano wasn't going to stream tonight. So let's jump over to. A lot of people are gaming right. So oh, there you go. Creatix Brit has Nero 3D on chatting. So let's go ahead and jump over to Creatix Brit and listen to her and her interview with Nero. Do that right. Flash Raid. Creatix Brit. So thanks a lot, everybody, for being here. Once again, Saturday stream is the birthday stream. We will have the giveaways. I'm going live at 10. We'll build for a little bit. We'll do the giveaways starting at noon, so that gives people a chance to, wake up and come in on the West Coast and stuff. And then I do have to call the stream at 2 because my parents and brother and stuff are coming in to go to lunch with us. So we will have to call the stream at 2. Um, maybe we do a little bit on Sunday. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I won't guarantee a second stream to get a little more build in on the Trident, but we'll just keep going. So thanks everybody. Please hang out and go on the raid with me over to Creatix Brit so that we can hang out with her and Nero. And I will see you guys on Saturday for the Trident and back on Tuesday for the DO build. So thanks a lot, everybody. You guys have a great evening. I got the raid started now, so please jump with me over to the raid. Thank you, Sally Prince. You have a good night too, and thank you for hanging out with me on the stream tonight. And here we go, raiding out. Have a good one, everybody. Bye now.